Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And a very excellent transition from Catherine here. We have been talking about sustainability, but today you've been talking about finance as well, and the construction industry as a whole. And with the task that we're setting for you today, we want to give you an opportunity to imagine what a job in construction can be. And the truth is, it can be anything. And there is so much space for innovation and for brand new ideas and really, really brave ventures in this particular industry right now, because we want to make it more sustainable and because there is so much space for improvement. But in order to make something happen, you need to be able to propose it in a good way. And this is part of the task, and part of what we're asking you to do is create a pitch for an original idea. So this is the task today, and it hopefully will give you an idea of how you could potentially do that, and it will allow you to imagine a lot of possibilities in the industry as such. Now, what we will be giving you to be able to work on this, we're going to start with, excuse me. We will tell you, we'll hand the teachers a detailed lesson plan on what we're doing, and you get 3 instructional videos, two of them created by the amazing team at Refab. Refabricate is a group of young architects, and we have 2 of them here, Rosie and Tiana. I think it's just the 2 of them today, but they're absolutely brilliant, and they are trying to bring younger voices to the conversation of sustainability. They have done amazing work promoting it to younger professionals, but also to schools and pupils in schools in London. And they've gotten an amazing recognition from the from the Royal Institute of British Architects for their work. They're a Golden Star recipient because of what they've done. So they will come in and they'll tell you a little bit more about the principles of circular economy, so that you can kind of understand what it takes to move from this linear state of things that we have at the moment that produces a lot of waste and really is not leaving us in a good place. It's not leaving our future in a good place, because we're wasting a lot of resources that can't come back. And take that line and close it in a neat circle that produces a sustainable effort. They talk about that, and they've created a really excellent interactive session to help you understand that with a very fun game with some cards. And then after that, you can try and create your own idea for applying these principles of circular economy within the construction industry. Now, just to give you a better idea of where you can find all the materials, let me just quickly get on the platform. So a lot of you will have already signed up to the Best Connect platform, which is a really great place where you can connect other professionals and get to know the industry better firsthand. But apart from that, sorry, I'm just getting my head around that. Apart from that, you can also get some of the materials that you need for to participate in this Makeathon. Thank you very much for your patience. I just need a second to get to where I need to get to show you this. Okay, brilliant. So this is the Best Connect platform, and from it you can get into the groups that exist within it. And there is a specific group for this week's event, which will come over here to the Festival of Construction. There it is. And as a subgroup of it, you can find the Makeathon challenge, which would come over here. There's a lot of people on the platform, which is great, and that's why it takes a second to load some of the pages, but we're all very patient, so it's all good. So you move on to the subgroups, and under the subgroups, you will find our group, and there will be all the documents that you require to be able to participate in the challenge. So that will be over here in a beautiful and bright orange. And under the event, there are a series of posts that list out all of the documents that you need, but also you can find them in the document section over here. You can find the lesson plan there. You can find the instructional videos down along here, and at Best Connect's YouTube channel, which is a great resource. You can use that further if you'd like to see some of the videos from last year, and it's a place where you're going to find the recordings from this year's sessions as well. So you'll have until the 11th of June to work on this. You will have seen the instructional videos. There'll be some printable materials for the workshop that's facilitated by Refab, and there's also the final worksheet that helps you create your pitch idea for a circular economy project, object, community, maybe an app, whatever your mind desires that applies those principles of circular economy. Now, until the 11th of June, you have time to work on that. We recommend that you don't spend more than 6 hours in total within your group of maximum 4 people to work on that. And the way we recommend you do it is split it in 2, spend 3 hours working on the task initially, and then, because I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions about some of the finer details of how things work, or where you can find more information, you can come back to this platform, and over here in this subgroup, you can post your questions, or your teachers could post the questions. And we have a team of amazing professionals that will be on call and ready to support you with some of their knowledge or point you to the right directions for information. And after you've given that a little bit of time, so maybe you do the first 3 hours 1 week, and then in about a week's time, you do another 3 hours work on the project. You can come back with that information you've gotten, and you can complete the final task. We cannot wait to see what you come up with. We're asking you to submit the final sheet and a video, but very detailed instructions are contained in the videos that you can watch in your own time, whatever works best and the way your courses are organized right now. So this is overall how the task will run. And when you complete it, we're going to choose a winner, and they'll get a special recognition, and we'll promote the winning idea on social media. But everybody who participates will also get recognition that could really be beneficial for your further development in education, whatever you decide to do. This is the kind of the idea of that, and maybe the Refab team may want to give us an idea about what they'll be telling people about circular economy in those couple of brilliant videos. Rosie, would you like to pick it up from here?
Yes, sure. So we'd first kind of do a little introduction about ourselves. So me and Tiziana are part of the Refabricate Waste Reuse, or Refabricate team, who did a program back in 2018 on Waste Reuse Challenge with a group of young professionals. So our group kind of stemmed from a bunch of us who are just either newly qualified or students out of university who are looking for more support from RIBA, who is kind of like the Architects Union in our profession, to try and have more program and resources available for young architects and young students that we didn't think were available at the time. We were then kind of put together, so there's a team of 6 of us who worked together to put together a program called the Waste Reuse Challenge, where we were able to get 6 groups of 6, and they were put through a program which had enterprise courses, like workshops and waste material workshops, to try and develop a product out of waste material. Each team were given like a material to focus on, such as timber, aggregates such as concrete or textiles or glass. And at the end of it, we had some amazing projects that were produced, which are available as precedents on our website. And 2 of the groups out of the 6 are now continuing to take the project on to become like an actual product within the industry. So I myself, I'm Rosie. I'm an architect at LSI Architects, and we also do a lot of work in inclusion, on accessibility and engagement with communities. So I'll hand over to Tiz, who will tell a bit about herself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Tiziana. I'm as well as Rosie, I'm a member of Refabricate, and my day-to-day job is actually as an architect in a fairly big company in London, which is called Foster & Partners. And yeah, there's a question.
Yeah, there's a question. What is circular economy? Maybe you can comment.
Yeah, circular economy is basically a system for which you try and tend to go away from the linear economy, which is the system that we mostly use, in which we make something, we take it and then dispose it without thinking about the afterlife or where the object or thing or whatever is going to. While circular economy is more thinking about making it into a loop. So it's actually reusing what you would just make as waste, and returning it and reusing it and reusing it again and again, so that you waste a lot less things. Yeah.
It would be a good idea if you want to give us a practical example of an item that we are all familiar with that could be a part of a circle like that.
Part of a circle, it could be something, for example, that can be biodegradable. So the idea is that you take something and, for example, you can make a building out of straw, for instance, and then when you are about to take it down, then you take it apart and you can put the straw in the compost and then eventually create soil and create new straw, for instance. Was an example of like something more like a material that is not biodegradable or compostable, is just like more about being creative and actually thinking like creatively about the use of something. So there are roofs, for example, that are made of like old plastic tiles, so you can use it as roofing systems, or like people using, for example, old car tires for like to reuse in walls, for example, so they don't go into landfill. Yeah.
So it's the idea of eliminating the waste from the line. Is that right?
Yeah. So like try to minimize and eventually completely take out all the waste that you can ever produce in production.
And that's you're talking about objects, but your ideas could also be about facilitating something like that. So, for example, an idea that I may have seen in a different circular economy Makeathon was to create a bit of a Tinder for construction waste. So you can kind of create a platform where you log on and you see a map of your local vicinity, and you can see what construction sites exist and what kind of waste they're preparing to get rid of. Because beautifully, we know that one builder's trash could be another designer's treasure. And the idea that you come up with could be around facilitating something like that and just making it possible to close that circle as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, especially the idea about the someone's waste is someone else's treasure.
Absolutely. We had another question in here that was, is it financially viable and sustainable?
Rosie, do you want to take it? Or?
Yeah, okay. I would say yes. The whole point of circular economy is to kind of create the longevity of the product. So the product has like a longer life cycle. So it is financially viable. It is also a product that can be reused. So there are certain schemes where you can rent a product that can be then like leased on like a bi-monthly basis to kind of create general income. So this is what some products are looking at in terms of recycling glass to ensure that glass isn't contaminated, and it gives kind of an incentive for people to recycle and reuse it. And this is also happening for other products. It's also like a way where you're starting to notice now in terms of domestic scale, where a lot of the products that you have, especially with glass recycling in Germany and stuff, is where products are, the incentive is that the consumer would get stuff back in return. So that is the incentive of continuing the cycle. So it also works from general like domestic scale and then on also to a construction scale. So.
Very much viable. And what kind of waste does the construction industry produce? Would you like to kind of give some examples of what we're working with here, how we can...
So relating it back to the kind of workshop that we're doing with the Makeathon, we take you through like several examples, so whether it's on a domestic scale and on a construction scale. So in our presentation, we talk about like a roof. So it would be like clay tiles, or it could be out of thatch, like straw, like Tiz was saying, or it could also be made out of like wellies, where one of our committee members has actually done a shed recently where they reused wellies from Glastonbury to make tiles on a roof, but that's also be reused elsewhere. Other construction waste can be like concrete, so timber. So you've got like the five main materials, which is also apparent on our website. So you've got glass, textiles, you've got aggregates. So this is stuff like stone, marble, concrete, and like what you see on the foundation. And then you have timber, so that'll be a lot to do with structure, and also tables that you're working on right now. You also have waste that are kind of more like the metallic base from like structure and support. So a lot of these materials can be recycled, but the reason why there isn't so much recycling in the first place is there isn't much incentive for the customers to kind of divide the materials up on site. So there's a lot of challenge at the minute and additional cost for contractors to separate materials on site to avoid contamination when taking materials to be recycled. So the whole way we can change this is by taking a different perspective and think about the type of materials we are bringing to site to reduce that waste.
Yeah, and there's also how you bring them into site, because there's, again, like how do you manufacture something, but it's also partially related to packaging as well, for example. So there's like loads of wooden pallets, for example, that get that you can't reuse. I think most of them you can reuse twice, so they essentially just become wood to burn. And then like all like stuff that comes wrapped in plastics, for example. And yeah, construction actually creates a lot of waste, and we're not really too much aware of it in a way, because like we're very focused, for example, on our plastic bottles or on our straws and stuff, but like think about how many materials that are in your house, and you know, and how many houses get taken down and rebuilt, and yeah, there's a lot of materials out there that have a lot of potential that is not used.
And in order for an idea to comply to the principles of circular economy, does it need to go back to the construction industry?
I would say no. Like a lot of the products that we had from our waste reuse challenge, which are available on our website, some of them took waste from domestic sites. This could be such as coffee grounds or straws or t-shirts, but others also took construction waste such as aggregates that were broken down, kind of stone and materials, whether timber, so then it was kind of rechanged into something else. But a lot of the products wasn't necessarily turned into something that had to then go back into a house or in construction. It ended up being more of a domestic product, such as like a bottle or a piece of furniture or like a cup you can drink out of. So that's the point of circular economy. It doesn't have to necessarily come back into the construction industry. That would be a benefit, but it is kind of tricky with the knowledge that you have. So it's dependent on the flexibility of the product, but it's really up for grabs. It doesn't have to be directly back into the construction industry.
And having so much various waste coming from construction, you can come up with ideas to use it in other ways. And that will very much still be beneficial to the industry, because that's the big problem with it. There's another question asking, did students need to have the product itself to create their competition entry? And that's a very happy and solid no. We're looking for an idea. And you see, you have the third instructional video that you have is about how to put together your entry. And we want to see a good idea. And we are very fully aware that it's impossible in such a short amount of time to have something that's solid, fully fledged with all of the questions answered. And this is not what we're after. And this is not what people will be after in real life either. Very much when you're pitching startup ideas, you may need to get people to give you funding to do the further research to make sure that something works. We will have asked you in the a handful of key questions that need to be addressed, or at least you need to demonstrate that you've thought about what the obstacles of addressing those questions could be, but you don't need to have created a particular material or know 100% how something like that will come together.
I'd also add, like, feel free to explore how you're designing through sketch, painting. It could be like in pencil, pen, watercolor. You could model it out of like a milk carton or a cereal box. Like, you could be as creative as you like.
Absolutely. Try and have fun with it as much as you can. does the competition entry idea have a maximum cost is another question. No, it does not have a maximum cost. Obviously, we're trying to create a circular economy precedent here. So inherently, it will be an idea that saves a lot of resources. So if you need a huge investment upfront, then you need to demonstrate to us how it's going to return on itself, at least fully, if not more. So be wild, come up with amazing ideas, but keep those principles in mind. And again, we're not going into a ton of detail here. You have the videos to watch, but the idea is to create this balance and stop wasting as much. So yeah, if you want to invest £3 billion in your idea, make sure you can demonstrate that it has potential to win a 6 back. That's the idea. Well, this festival of construction has been brilliant, and one of its aims is to show the potential of the construction industry and why it's so attractive as well. So, Rosie and Tiana, would you like to just give us a quite quick, just a minute or two of an idea of what attracted you to the roles you have at the moment, and why are you doing what you're doing?
So why I went into architecture, I kind of from a young age was kind of had family friends involved in property development. So I kind of grew up around changes of houses that were kind of weren't livable to being like amazing to me, like castles and mansions, because I was so young at the time. So it was always like a great surprise. And then also I have achondroplasia dwarfism. So I grew up in an environment that hasn't necessarily been adapted to me, or I've had to like adapt myself to the environment I am in. And I wanted to come into architecture to kind of make it slightly easier for people like myself or those in wheelchairs. So it was more, I feel like I come to the profession with like a different perspective, which is always great in such an industry that still needs quite a lot of change. So yeah, so that's why I went into architecture.
Really wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like it was similar. My journey at the start, in a way, to Rose's, in a way that like I as well grew up like with my parents remaking their houses. I was like on a building site, like when I was 3 years old, and things like that. My grandpa was an architect as well, so I guess that influenced quite a bit of my choice. And yeah, I always liked the part of like just making things and exploring and yeah, creating spaces for people, which is just great. And then went to Australia for a bit, and I got into environmentalism as well, and then came to the UK. I'm Italian, sorry, should have contested about this earlier. I came to the UK to actually study at uni, did all my university studies here, and yeah, for the all 5 years of uni I did environmental architecture. So yeah, it's something that I really love, and yeah, super happy to be here and be able to spread my love in this Makeathon. Yeah, the sustainability.
That's really wonderful. And just to kind of close it up, I can give myself as an example here. I also have background in architecture, but at the moment I work in diversity and inclusion myself. And I think it's really worth saying that the idea of committing to a single career and one thing that you're doing for the entirety of your life is something that we're taking apart nowadays more and more. And I remember how overwhelming it felt when I was 18 to just choose something that's going to be my life forever, because 8 hours of your day, of your waking time, is a lot, and committing to something like that could be a lot and could feel overwhelming. But the truth is, we don't live in a world like that anymore, and a lot of people have 2 or 3 careers in their lifetime. So when you're thinking about what you're choosing for your first career, you can think about it this way. And construction, because it's so vast and contains so many different opportunities, is a brilliant start, because it can help you develop your skills, whether they'll be much more technical or software related or design related, much more artistic, or maybe you really love working with people. All of those things are contained within the process of creating a building, because it's a big deal. So even if you evolve eventually to want to do something different, you have started off with a set of really amazing skills. So this is from us.
Thank you. I've got one last question before you all go. One of the things that we've been asking all of our speakers this week is, for the students who are listening to this and making some career decisions in a pretty weird world right now, what advice would you give to your younger self for the decisions and things that you've made, or the journey that you've had so far?
Does anyone want to go first?
I'm ready to go first. I think what you're choosing now is not something that you're going to have to like always feel like you have to stick to 5 or 3 or 2 years down the line. There is flexibility when you're choosing your course at university. Don't feel like you have to stick to your guns and always plow through it. You can change. It's not a matter of that you pick one option and then you choose and stick with it. There are many people that I grew up with when I was an undergrad doing architecture that started off doing architecture and was determined to become an architect, but they ended up changing their course after undergrad. So they ended up going into game design, or they went into yacht design. I've had people designing like product design or working for Apple, or they go into programming. So it is very flexible. So just remember, like, what you're choosing for your undergrad now is just the foundation of what your next step is. It's not something you have to stick to exactly. So just choose what you feel is the most comfortable for you right now and the most exciting. So that's what I would say.
Diana?
Yeah, no, I think like Rosie summed it up pretty well, but like, yeah, I think especially right now, which is a pretty strange world, like it is very essential to do what you really like and what you're really passionate about. And then again, if in 5 years time you think like, oh no, I don't know why I like this, I actually don't anymore, I want to do this other thing, then yeah, just reinvent yourself. There's like plenty of people do that, and it's completely normal and viable. So yeah.
Perfect. I always struggle with this question whenever I always struggle, as if I'm asked it all the time, but whenever I post Drag Race and at the end they show them their baby picture and ask them what are you going to tell your younger self, I never want to tell her anything, because I'm a big believer that whatever's happened is based on all of the mistakes, whatever that may be, or all the things that have happened so far. So my advice to you more would be, just take everything as a learning opportunity and work on your learning skills and resilience skills. Resilience means being able to recover quickly from difficult situations. And these two things, if you have them, if you can learn from everything that you've gotten into, yourself into, even if it doesn't seem like the most positive situations, and if you can do that, if you can recover quickly from things like that, you'll be able to deal with any situation, and you'll be able to be so much more comfortable evolving from different professional and learning environments to better versions of yourself.
Brilliant, thank you all. As 3 women in the construction industry, obviously it's something that our students and probably careers leads and teachers know of the industry, that it's quite male dominated. So as 3 women in the industry, how have you built up your networks? Do you find that is something that is really useful to you? Is that something that you would encourage other women to do as they come into the industry?
Yes. From my experience, I've worked under a lot of women who have been amazing mentors and very resilient and a great person to talk to. They become lifelong friends. Like, everyone is a network opportunity when you get into the industry, and especially even more so as a woman, or a woman who is also disabled. So from my experience within the industry, it has been tough. There are times where you have to shout louder to be heard, but you do have the support network from everyone else around you, and then you can talk to them afterwards. So there are lots of kind of lessons you can learn in a session, which I am doing with now. So it's understanding how to kind of be confident within yourself and not feeling guilty about it. And it's still a lesson I am learning every day. So.
Yeah, I guess yeah, it is tough, because sometimes you do realize in some situation, like because it's a very male dominated industry, you sometimes feel a little bit on the side in a way, but it's all, I think it's all up to us, and again creating this network and this strength to just keep changing for the better the industry, which has already come like a fairly long way. But yeah, like anywhere, you do meet the odd person that is not so nice. Yeah. Yeah.
No, we can't. I mean, we have to be honest about it. It's the fact that there are far fewer women than there should be, in my personal opinion, and in this industry that really defines all the majority of our environments everywhere that we are. And if these environments are for everyone, everyone should participate in making them happen and making them and shaping them into what they are. Yeah, I mean, I've had those moments of being the only woman in a very full room, and feeling like my voice suddenly has dropped. And it's not easy. Of course, if you're someone who's comfortable with asserting themselves, lean into what you're comfortable in. If you're not, you don't have to either. Something I'm very passionate about is finding these different kind of voices, because we don't all have to be able to scream to be heard, and we need to make more space for the quieter voices. And yeah, absolutely building that network of other women to help you, check the temperature as well, because sometimes, when you get certain kind of responses, you start thinking about whether this is, oh, is this me or is this the environment? And you need that kind of check-in and to have people you can chat to and say, oh yeah, no, it's not in your head, it is something that's happening. But things are changing, and getting to know yourself and understanding your own value is very, very, very important. If you are lucky to be someone who can assert themselves, you can make space for other people who may have quieter voices. But hopefully you won't have to change yourself too much.
I think that's a really good point. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, and I know that's something that a lot of our speakers have touched on this week in one way or another, it's not just about gender or culture or sexuality. Actually, it's in personality type as well. It's diversity in the loud people and the quiet people, and making sure that everybody is represented in what we build.
Absolutely. I like to say that I think it's a bigger win for diversity if there's a quiet, masculine presenting person with maybe nail polish on the big table with the big decision, as opposed to a woman who's one of the boys. Because we define qualities as masculine and feminine, but this is just how we've decided to define them very, very subjectively. And we've also just decided to favor the masculine ones more in the business world than the feminine ones, for reasons that we now see mean nothing. And what we can do is just make more space for these qualities that we define as feminine, and allow them to be